This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everybody. This is the Town of Stratford Public Forum for October 13th, 2020. My name is Christopher Pia, Town Council Chair. It is now 6:47 p.m. I will open up the public forum for this evening. Ms. Paquette, Council Clerk, do we have anybody on the agenda? I know someone just joined, and we can clarify if that individual would like to speak.
Right, other than the most recent caller in, there's no one who has signed up to speak.
Is there anybody on the call who would like to speak or participate in the public forum this evening? Going once, going twice. Okay. Being that there are no participants this evening, I'm going to close the public forum on October 13th at 6:48 p.m. We will all reconvene for the regularly scheduled town council meeting at 8 p.m. on this same call, same link and same phone number. Thank you all.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everybody. It is 8 p.m. on October 13th, 2020. My name is Chris Pia, Town Council Stratford. Tonight is a regularly scheduled meeting of Stratford Town Council. We're going to begin with the approval, with the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd ask Councilor O'Brien to lead us in that.
Oh, Heavenly Father, you are the source of human dignity, and it is in your image that we are created. Pour out on us the spirit of love and compassion. Enable us to reverence each person, to reach out to anyone in need, to value and appreciate those who differ from us, to share the resources of our nation, to receive the gifts offered to us by people from other cultures. Grant that we may always promote the justice and acceptance that ensures lasting peace and racial harmony. Help us to remember that we are one world and one family, and only one race, the human race. Amen. And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor O'Brien. Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is item 1, approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion for that.
Laura Dancho, motion to approve.
Ms. Dancho.
Bill O'Brien, second.
Mr. O'Brien, second. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing no discussion. Everyone in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes unanimously, 9-0. Ms. Paquette, just for point of the notes, Mr. Connor did text me a little while ago before the meeting. He had a last-minute family obligation come up, and he is not going to be joining us this evening. So as of right now, to the screen that I see, we have 9 councilors of the 10 on. No items under number 2. Number 3, communications, bills, petitions, and remonstrances. Item 3.1, letters of resignation. This is for informational purposes only. All the councilors received in their pony an email dated September 30th, 2020 from Ron Hoydick from Inland Wetlands. A resignation letter. So everyone has that. And item 3.2, the monthly can report. Ms. Sabo, if you wouldn't mind.
There I go. Okay. Thank you, Chairman Pia. So in your package, there was a cash flow report dated 10/2/2020, and we're using this report to judge if we needed to borrow tax anticipation notes based on the information. For the tax collection so far, we have not needed to. We were on target with our tax collections for the first half of the year. And if you go to the last page, so it's a document that is 7 pages. And on the last page is some information on the total cash balance and where some of those numbers come from. So you'll see totals that we are using to anticipate say, state receipts and grants, 29.6 million. And then you'll see the taxes were 97% of what was budgeted, and WPCA fees were using 97% of what's budgeted. And then if you look at the page before, page 6 of 7, you'll see at the end of the year, the dark line where it says total cash balance. At the end of the year, we are still in a positive cash state. So we made a couple adjustments to tighten up the numbers to have them better reflect what's been happening and what our expenditures are anticipated during the year, including capital and other other projects that are being funded by the state. So that's all in there. So it looks good right now. Does anybody have any questions?
Dawn, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
So since we started doing this, and thank you again for putting this together this month, I think I think at the end of the day, it's the most important thing for all of us, especially as the 10 counselors, to know on a monthly basis how the town cash flow is doing. What my one question to you is, looking at town taxes, which again is looking at 97% budgeted, which again, correct me if I'm wrong, we've averaged between high 97% and mid 98% over the last few years in terms of actual collected, which being that in the depths of the pandemic, 97% right now, I think is pretty good. How are we doing on state revenue? Is the state holding back any grants? Is the revenue coming from the state as normal? I don't know anything. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. So the only cut that I know of so far is our assessor's office received notification that there's been a cut in the, I think it's the renters or the elderly renters rebate program. And that was, I'll have to get more details on exactly what program it is, but there is a program that they cut, and I asked our tax assessor to let me know how much that would amount to, and I believe it's about under $10,000, right, that we were cut for right now. So I haven't heard of any other cuts that the state is making at this time.
Fair enough. Thank you, Dawn. Any other questions from any other counselors for Dawn? Caitlin, go ahead. Caitlin, did I see your hand?
Yes.
Hi, Caitlin,
Hi,
go ahead.
Hi, Caitlin.
I have a question regarding the grand list. I just wanted to know if over the past 2 fiscal years, if we have a list that's already generated of new businesses that have been added to that commercial grand list, and then which businesses have been removed. And then that would be, it would be able to show us our annual total tax payments and to see if we have a net increase or decrease. And my intention for that question is to see over the past 2 years, and then I guess potentially what has been a response, positive or negative, with COVID for the town. And if we don't have one, could we please have one?
I can certainly work on getting some of that information to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dawn? No other questions? Okay.
No,
We'll move on. Did I hear somebody? Greg?
no question. No questions. Thanks for the
No
report,
questions, guys.
Don.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Dawn,
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Appreciate it. All right. We're going to move on to item 4. Item 4.1, Madam Mayor, how are you this evening? You're on mute, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm well, Chairman. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you.
Good. OPM was the one who made the reduction, Dawn. It wasn't the House or the Senate. And I'll find out the confirmation whether it was renter's rebate or senior tax relief. So let's see. Phase 3 opening in Connecticut began last Thursday, October 8th. The restaurants, personal services, hair salons, barber shops, and libraries may increase their occupancy from 50% to 75% capacity indoors. And this is all subject to the COVID-19 safety requirements. Outdoor event venues, amphitheaters, racetracks, of which we have many in Stratford, will increase from 25% to 50% capacity with masks and social distancing required. Indoor performing arts venues will be able to open at 50% capacity with masks and social distancing requirements. We have a variety of pop-up COVID-19 testings. Stratford is partnering with Optimus Healthcare to continue providing community pop-up services for COVID-19. There are 3 upcoming dates: Friday, October 30th, Friday, November 6th, and Friday, December 4th. Paul, I'd like to thank you and Rotary Club for being as generous as you have during the pandemic and funding so many things regardless of masks and pop-up services. It's really great community spirit and efforts that you're showing. I appreciate it, and I'm sure many people do.
Thank you.
The time and the location for all of these Optimus pop-up testings are 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The last person admitted is at 11:45 a.m. and the Stratford Health Department parking lot, Birdseye Street, which is 468 Birdseye Street. There's no doctor note needed, but if you could bring a photo ID and insurance card, that would be helpful. Recent events, the election grant. I'm pleased to note that through the joint work of our Republican and Democrat registrar voters, Lou DeCilio and Rick Marcone, that we've secured a grant amount of $31,824 from the Nonprofit Center for Tech and Civic Life for the purposes of planning and operationalizing safe and secure election administration in Stratford. The funds can be used for poll worker recruitment, hazard pay, training expenses, temporary staffing, and election administrative equipment. Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th through October 15th, and we celebrated the ceremony on Town Hall Green on September 23rd. We observed the contributions to our town, state, and nation with those from ancestry from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, Central, and South America. We recognize the month with a mayoral proclamation and a ceremonial raising the flag of Hispanicity of the town at the town hall. The flag will fly until the conclusion of the designated month on October 15th. Stratford Point project redesignated as Best Restored Shoreline by the National Group. The American Shore and Beach Preservation Association announced their 2nd annual Best Restored Shores Award, recognizing the projects that apply nature-based solutions to enhance the country's shoreline. And they have named Stratford Point Living Shoreline in Connecticut as one of the 3 recipients across the nation. The Stratford Point Living Shoreline project partners, Sacred Heart University, with under Dr. Mattei, the University of Connecticut, the Connecticut Institute for Reliance and Climate Adaptation, and the support of the town of Stratford in endeavoring to consistently add to the artificial reef, smooth cordgrass, marsh, high marsh, coastal dune, and upland woodland grass mosaics. If you notice, you can't really see the reef balls unless it's low tide, but if you drive along Prospect towards the lighthouse on the left-hand side on town property, we allowed Jennifer Mattei and her students to plant a lot of habitat there to encourage the animals and the bird life to live and to breed at the sound in that area. This project is aimed at providing an additional 750 feet of coastal erosion control, 4.5 acres of intertidal habitat, 1.5 acres of coastal dune habitat, and 25 acres of woodland meadow mix. Monitoring of this project will provide insight to the effectiveness of the living shoreline as it means to increase coastal resilience and will serve as a design basis for the future coastline communities in Connecticut and New England. The Stratford Health Department has sponsored 2 successful flu clinics, September 28th at Bunnell High School and October 3rd at Birdseye Municipal Center. One more is planned for October 14th at the Baldwin Center, 1000 West Broad Street, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Vaccines are available on first come, first serve. Insurance accepted include Medicare Part B, Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Connecticut, Aetna, and Cigna. United Healthcare and Oxford Insurance are not accepted at this time. Those getting the shot should wear loose clothing or short sleeves, wear a mask, and complete the consent form and a copy of the individual's insurance cards. The Beautification Committee announced the annual Curb Appeal Awards. The Stratford Beautification Committee announced the winners of their 2020 annual Curb Appeal Awards this year and bestowed on residents that go the extra mile to make their properties and ultimately all of Stratford even more visually appealing. The committee evaluated over 40 nominated properties that were selected for their interesting landscaping, flower beds and gardens, or improvements featuring unique fencing, walkways, or lighting fixtures. Nominations were accepted from June 1st through July 17th through an online nomination on the town website. The winning properties also added a category of Best Patriotic, and that was considered in cancellation of Stratford's annual fireworks for the 4th of July due to the COVID pandemic. There will be no formal ceremony recognizing the winners this year in consideration of COVID-19 pandemic, but the winners have been presented with lawn signs to display in their yard, as well as an award, including a gift bag of daffodil bulbs and as our signature flower. And Caitlin, we know all about the daffodil bulbs from the great job you and the Longbrook Park Commission did cleaning up Longbrook Park a couple weeks ago. Upcoming events: Stratford Lighthouse Grounds opening for tours on October 17th. The Stratford Historical Society will be giving tours and providing the history of Stratford Light. Public Works has been very busy working on the grounds since we secured the license agreement with the Coast Guard on the property last year. They have done significant renovations on the Keeper's Cottage and the grounds. These tours are an opportunity to showcase what has been done before we can open the facility more widely for events. Due to COVID considerations, the tours will be booked ahead of time and they will fill quickly. We will be offering more in the near future to residents who are unable to get in this time around. Our own David Wright will be facilitating these tours. Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This month, I issued a proclamation declaring October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the town of Stratford. The designation coincides with the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is first observed in October of 1981, and as a way to unite advocates and survivors in the efforts to end domestic violence. The Domestic Violence Vigil, in consideration of the pandemic, will be held in October that has been held in October on the steps of Town Hall, has been moved to an online event by the sponsoring Center of Family Justice. The online event is planned to be streamed at 7 p.m. on Thursday, October 22nd, and again at noon on Friday, October 23rd. Also, in conjunction with Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the Center of Family Justice is sponsoring Purple Thursday. To join the national movement, wear purple to promote awareness. Snap a selfie if you and your family, friends, co-workers wearing purple and post it on hashtag Purple Thursday and tag the Center of Family Justice. In addition to that, Town Hall will be lit with purple lights in honoring Domestic Violence Month. That sounds kind of funny, not honoring it, but bringing awareness and advocacy towards domestic violence. The Pumpkin Festival was canceled due to COVID-19. The in-person event was scheduled for October 17th will not take place out of an abundance of caution and the current coronavirus pandemic and the impossibility of maintaining social distance safer guidelines during such the event would make it very high risk. A virtual pumpkin carving contest, however, will be held online, and to submit your creation to the Celebrate Stratford Facebook page, facebook.com/Celebrate Stratford, by Wednesday, October 28th. Categories include most creative, spookiest, funniest, and best in show. Winners will be announced on Friday, October 30th on the Celebrate Stratford Facebook page. On October 30th, thereabouts, maybe the 29th, we will have a dedication to police officers who have served the town of Stratford for 40 years or more. On the signpost outside of Longbrook Avenue, where the police sign is standing, there will be 4 officers who will be placed, names will be placed on that sign, and we'll be unveiling and giving them tribute that day. More information will be shortcoming. Business openings. We had a ribbon cutting at El Cafecito Deli. After 9 months, El Cafecito finally got a re-celebration of their grand opening. I think they actually opened the day we closed for COVID. So they were closed immediately after the pandemic. They're located in Orono Plaza on 7365 Main Street. There's over 15 years in the restaurant business with sisters Glexi and Larry Solano, and are pleased to have their first deli. El Cafecito features American and Central American cuisine. The owners encourage us to try their specialty pupusa, which is filled with a corn tortilla, popular in their birthplace of El Salvador. I encourage everyone to stop by and try this if they have a chance. In the Blue Sky Diner, we join Nick and Mary Avaropoulos and Sissy Kuvadas at the Blue Sky Diner on September 18th as they officially open their new outdoor deck. The deck is spacious and accommodating safely distanced outdoor dining. Go check it out at 273 Ferry Boulevard. Our commercial building permits filed from July 1st through current are at $2,129,221. Our conveyance revenue to date is $288,598, which is 38% of budget. We are pleased to report that Night Shift Brewing of Massachusetts is opening a warehouse distribution center on 640 Access Road. They expect to open by the end of October, the beginning of November. The Exit 33 Interflow interchange, the contractor is planning to work through the winter shutdown, weather permitting, which would run from December 1st through April 1st, 2021. The new bridge over Barnum Avenue extension, as well as the south side ramp B, are 90% complete. The remaining 10% will be complete. That to be completed includes waterproofing, asphalt, extension of the beam to the cross frame and to tie into Ferry Boulevard. All barrier and retaining walls are being worked on currently. The contractor currently is working out details to move hazardous waste from the waste stockpile area, the WPA, to the Raymark site, and that should be completed by the end of the month. Anticipating completion date for this project is ahead of schedule. Route 110, the final inspection occurred Friday, October 10th. The project is complete. Complete Streets. A meeting was held with the town and staff of Complete Streets Committee to review the 30% design phase for Main Street. A technical advisory meeting is planned following by public information meeting. On West Broad, the town is waiting for scheduling by UI. Actually, tonight, there is some ongoing work from Aquarion. So Andrea Boisevin, the health director, allowed that the noise ordinance would not be enforced for Aquarion while they repaired this main that they had to connect to tonight. So if you hear a lot of banging and a lot of construction, it's due to Aquarion tying it into the West Broad Street area. This project is looking to be completed before the winter season. Amazon is doing very well in Stratford, and they donated two picnic tables to each school with math packets to the elementary schools. CDBG grant, we have received another grant for a little over $300,000, and the CDBG subcommittee is going to be presented, or if they haven't already, from the Stratford Recovery Strong Group, assistance for distributing the money to small business. Small businesses will need to apply through a survey that can be found on the town website, and the survey will close on October 27th. Staff news, we had the promotion of Angelo Garcia to lieutenant of the fire marshal's office, and the resignation of Mo McCarthy as public works director. His last day will be on the 23rd. Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To the councilors, questions for the mayor? Questions for the mayor? Any councilors? Mr. Taveras, I see your hand, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Is there going to be anything for Mo? Is there going to be any kind of sending off?
Right now, Counselor, we're planning on doing something Wednesday. I think it's the 21st, around lunchtime at the town garage. And so you'll all be invited.
Excellent. My second question is I'd like to try to get right to it. Is there any updates about the investigation of the officer in question?
I don't know if Chris Hodgson is on the call. If not.
Yeah, I'm here, Mayor.
Chris, would you address it with Councilor Taveras?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We really can't discuss an employee without putting that employee on the agenda. So it wouldn't be proper.
All right. Well, I pretty much want to talk to all of you, the councilors, as well as the mayor. I really think that this is the time that all of us should put aside any partisan or personal feelings to show some unity and with our police and try to get back more of the public trust and confidence. Right now, there's a separation, and it's pretty frustrating for me, being a former first responder, that we are who we are, and we have each other, and we really, this is a time of not just a teaching moment, but a reconciliation moment. And I think I'm asking you, Madam Mayor, what things you might think of that would be able to show that, to show unity of all of us with our police, getting the public also to assuage feelings of animosity and separate and trepidation. I'm hearing from kids when the police cars by that they're great, and I tell them no, they're here to protect us. They're here to do their job. We cannot allow certain ones that make mistakes, hopefully that will be corrected, to be a broad brush to all. So I'm asking you, Mayor, what ideas could be a teaching moment and something that all of us as counselors can do with the police?
Well, Councilor, I'm very happy to hear that you are striving still to bring people together in the community, because it is so important. And I think probably one of the strongest messages we can send to our youth and our families is to fund the Stratford resource officers and not defund them, as some national politicians have stated. That is very important for the relationships between our students and our police to happen in a safe environment like school. So the efforts that Stratford PAL is putting forward are very, very critical, especially at this time. As you know, that through the police engagement program and Co-Com and Comply, those classes are also offered to the public. And you also know, because you were on the call with CARES last week, that we are working together with CARES and the Council of Churches to do a series of educational programs about racism in different segments, and as well as the town employees will be trained in an anti-bias session within the next, hopefully starting within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Taveras. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any other questions for the mayor? Before anybody, just interrupt Mr. Hodgson. If you could just mute yourself, I do get some background from you, sir, before any, thank you. Any councilors, any other questions for the mayor? All right, Madam Mayor, can I just ask one quick question on the environmental project down on the Short Beef on Short Beef, which I call them the beach balls that go down there, that grow the beach grass. When is that starting again, ma'am?
When is that what?
When is that project starting again?
It's already starting. That's
the federal grant that we received.
Are you talking about the reef balls that I just reported on?
The reef balls I know were there, and then the federal grant that we received for the environmental.
So the federal grant, the FEMA Coastal Resiliency Grant,
yes,
for the Water Pollution Control Authority, you have to approve the match to that before we can accept the grant.
Understood.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you answered both questions in the same time. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the mayor? All right, we're going to move on then. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Next item on the agenda is 4.3.1, the Public Works Committee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Poisson.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 4.3.1.1, 0.2, and 0.3 as they all are all about the Route 110 improvement project. A motion to approve all three of those at the same time, please.
All right, motion made by Mr. Poisson. Do I have a second for that item?
Second by Dave Harden.
I see Mr. Perillo's hand went up before Dave's voice came in. So Mr. Perillo beat you to it, Dave. I'm sorry. I saw him. So I got a second by Councilor Perillo. Any discussion on the items, as these were all provided in the minutes from the Public Works Committee and the Pony? Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. O'Brien, go ahead, sir.
Let's just clarify a little bit about 4.3.1.3.
Yes, sir.
That Public Works has agreed to remove the structures, and that will save us monies. So we expect it to be below the 5,500. In fact, it should be under 5,000.
I believe, Mr. Poisson, do you care to weigh in, Councilor Poisson, on that?
No, that's why we made it a not to exceed, because the original item, the original amount of 5,514 was to remove all of the unused structures, but then our Public Works said that they could use some of those so that we could reuse them. So the final cost is going to be under the 5,514. Mr. Perillo is absolutely right.
Thank you, Mr. Poisson. Councilor O'Brien, you satisfied with that answer?
Yes, that explains it.
Okay. Any other discussion on the item? Okay, hearing none, we're going to call for a vote on items 4.3.1, 0.2, and 0.3. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, item passes. Item passes 9-0. Next item on the agenda is item 4.3.2.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Poisson.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 4.3.2.1.
Motion to approve item 4.3.2.1 by Mr. Poisson. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second by Dave Harden.
I have a seconded by Councilor Harden. Any discussion on the item? Mr. Poisson, do you want to just weigh in and just, this was the movement of the portable classrooms. Maybe if you want to weigh in, and Madam Mayor.
Yeah, these were the 4 portable classrooms at the quote unquote old Stratford High building that obviously are not needed anymore. And Mayor Hoydick had a great idea to save them instead of just demolishing them. And 2 went down to the police station and 2 went down to Public Works down at the waste station. So it's an excellent use of something that had already been paid for and getting more life out of them.
Awesome. Any discussion on the item? Any other councilors have any other questions or discussion?
No, thank you for that background, Ken.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you, Ken. And agreed, it's a good use of resources for the rest of the town. Especially, I will say, as someone who does go down to the transfer station, and usually a couple times a month, at least when I could drive and use my leg, the gentlemen down there are going to be, I know, very much appreciative of the new little home that they can use during the day. So I think this is a great use of resources. I just wanted to throw that out there to them. So we'll, with that, we'll call this to a vote for item 4.3.2.1. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. Thank you all. Town Attorney's report. Attorney Hodgson.
Chair, I have no report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Hodgson.
Chris, can we have questions of the attorneys?
Questions, attorneys? No report on the agenda, Greg. What's it in regards to?
Well, we haven't had a report for probably the last 12 months or so. And
Okay.
I would just like to, maybe Attorney Hodgson can provide some background on methods that the office have used to reduce costs, to reduce litigation, to, quote, avoid the need for reports.
Okay, so Chris, here's what Greg, if I may, I have no problem having that conversation. If we want, I have no problem putting on next month's agenda so that at least if you want to get a detailed analysis, which I have no problem with, I'll allow them the opportunity to put that together. and have that on next month's agenda, if that's okay with you, to appease both parties.
That would be, is that okay with Attorney Hodgson?
I'd be happy to do it. I recall
All right.
one of our live meetings in the spring that we had prepared an update of where we were in terms of outstanding cases and other matters. So I'm happy to update that and to discuss cost-saving measures.
Okay.
So Greg,
Perfect.
you have my word. I'll work with the town attorney's office on that, and we'll have a report in terms of a quarterly update or what have you on the November agenda.
Good idea. Thank you, Chris.
No problem.
Thanks.
Greg. Thank you, Attorney Hodgson.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is under unfinished business, item 5. So Lisa, under item 5.1, this was something we had on last month's agenda. It is on the table right now. I would ask that we continue to leave it on the table as we're still doing a little bit more research on the item. And it is something that I still want to continue to get public feedback on as it's still coming. It's something that did go to planning, it did go to conservation. So it has been vetted by a couple of the committees of the town, but it's something that I feel is important, and I probably believe the rest of the council would as well as the administration, and I don't want to rush it. So I would feel comfortable leaving it for at least another month right now as we continue to garner public feedback. So if anybody has any objection to that, that's my sentiment, and I'd leave it there. All right. Next item on the agenda is item 6.1. Item 6.1.1.
This is Laura Dancho, District 10. I motion to approve item 6.1.1, an ordinance appropriating an additional $6,900,000 to the capital improvements and equipment program for fiscal year 2021 for roof replacement projects at Worcester Middle School, Chapel Street Elementary School, and Second Hill Lane Elementary School, and that the first reading of the above entitled ordinance be and is hereby dispensed with, as copies thereof have been previously furnished to each member of town council, and that the same be adopted as a first reading and referred to the ordinance committee for a public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Dancho. Do I have a second to that motion?
Bill O'Brien, seconds.
Seconded by Mr. O'Brien. Under discussion, I would ask that this is something that we briefly brought up in the spring, so some of you may remember. So for point of clarity, I'd ask Attorney Leclerc and Mr. Timniak, if the two of you would jump in, explain why we have it on tonight, what people understand, and so Mr. Leclerc, if I can, if you may.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian Leclerc from the Town Attorney's Office. There are two items before you this evening. One is an appropriation ordinance. The second is a bonding ordinance. They both have to do with the capital improvement and equipment program. As you will all recall, you previously approved the CIP-CEP program in the spring of this year, and it covered the period July 1st of this year, July 1st, 2020 through June 30, 2021, the town's standard fiscal year. At the time you approved the capital improvement and equipment program this spring, the cost for these three routes, for Worcester Middle School, Chapel Street Elementary, and Second Hill Lane Elementary, had not yet been received by the town. They now have come in, so to get these roofs done, you would need to approve these two items and add them into the capital improvement and equipment program. I should add that I think reimbursement is in the range of 56% on these projects as an estimate from the state, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Attorney Leclerc. Mr. Timniak, before I open up any further discussion for the council, anything else to add from Mr. Leclerc?
No, Brian, you hit on the on sort of the timeline of it. This was something we had on the agenda going back, I think, sometime in February. It was approved by the council. Now, this is the step we need to do to show that we have the funding in place, the funding mechanism, so that we can receive the 56% grant from the state. It's typical of how we go about these projects. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Chris. And just point of clarity to Brian and Chris, is it 53 or 56%? And if it's okay, if you don't know it 100% tonight, I'm fine with that, but we're in that range.
I was told, Chris, 56% today.
Okay. I'll go with that. And if anything changes, no problem. I know you're both good at what you do. Any other discussion from this council on this?
Chris, Bill O'Brien.
Bill, go ahead, Mr. O'Brien.
Chris, Timniak, would you know if these would get done next summer, most likely?
Yes, these are scheduled to be done next summer.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from counselors?
This is Greg Can.
Go ahead, Greg.
First question maybe for Mr. Timiak. We don't have any bids or pre-construction estimates. Is that true? Meaning, what is the total cost of the 3 roofs? Is it more along the lines of $16 million?
It's in the agenda. That's why I have me confused. The cost for Worcester Middle School is $2.6 million. The cost for Chapel Street Elementary is $2.1 million. And Second Hill Lane Elementary School is $2.2 million. It's a total of $6.9 million. And we anticipate being reimbursed 56% of $6.9 million.
Why do we need then to bond the whole 6.9?
I'm going to have Attorney Leclerc answer that question, if that's okay.
Yes, we need to put Brian Leclerc. We need to have the full amount approved in the CIP program and approve the full bonding before we can get the reimbursement from the state. We have to show the ability and the intention to proceed with this, to add the project in full, and to go ahead. We will not, and your finance director, I believe, is still here. We will not actually bond money that the town of Stratford does not need for this project. And the bonds will go out either with bond anticipation notes first, and then ultimately to a straight bond as appropriate. But you're only going to bond the money you actually need to pay for these out of the town's pocketbook.
Is this a program where the state will manage the costs of the project, similar to what they do with, say, Clean Water Fund?
No, we manage the building we manage the roof replacements. We manage the project, and we submit the receipts to the state for reimbursement. We will not bond the total $6.9 million. We put the $6.9 million in because that's the total cost of the project.
And all right, so that's 2 statements. And Don, you concur we're only going to bond what we need in excess of the state's contribution?
I concur, and the projects will all be bid, and the bids are reviewed by the state. So this is the amount needed to actually have the applications approved so we can proceed with getting the project up and running. And the state just wants to make sure that if for whatever reason they can't pay for a project, which is doubtful, if they go bankrupt, that we are covered, we're covered to be able to do that. Does that answer your question, Greg?
Well, let me just qualify. So potentially under that scenario, we may borrow $3 million, our share, and then in a couple of years, since we've done this authorization, if the state, quote, goes bankrupt, we've already pre-authorized borrowing the remaining costs to complete the project.
Well, the authorization, yes, you're authorizing potential borrowing, but we are not actually borrowing right now. You're only authorizing that we could borrow money, yes.
Okay. Timeline on when the piece may fit together so that we can meet the next summer construction? Like actual state may agree on month X and we may go out to bond in month Y.
I believe the next step is the applications will go in, and Chris, maybe you know more about the timeline than I do, but the applications will go in, the projects will start next year, and then next year when we go to short-term borrowing, we would estimate what our cash flow need would be, and we would do some short-term borrowing to cover our portion until the projects were completed. Does that answer your question?
Potentially, it's going to be a 5-year bond rather than a 20-year bond. Is that a good?
No, I don't know if it's going to be a five. I wouldn't say it's going to be a 5-year bond. I wouldn't commit to that. I will tell you that Brian Schneider and the architect firm went ahead and they did all the pre-estimates on that to come up with these numbers. We got the numbers a couple weeks ago. Before we can go out to bid the project, we needed to make sure we had the funding in place for it, which is what the town council is doing tonight.
Excellent. And one last question. Is there any risk or plan to do a bond premium with this issue?
No.
No.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying the 56%. I knew we were going to get something. It just wasn't clear from.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Greg. Madam Mayor, go ahead, Madam Mayor.
when we submit for reimbursement from the state, from the school construction department, Division of Administrative Services, they evaluate what we're doing before they loan or grant us money. So just like Stratford High had a price, so will these roofs. So Greg, I don't think you need to worry about any bond premium issues at all. But these are great questions, and if you let Chris Timniak know ahead of time, he can have the answers for you at the ordinance meeting.
I did, Mayor, respectfully send these questions not to Timniak, but to Dawn and Mr. Pia on Friday.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see your email.
Yeah, you were on vacation.
Yes, but I checked my emails today and I didn't see it. So I'll look again.
Chris, I have a quick question if I can.
You can hold on one second, Mr. Boystein. Greg, we'll have clarity on all the numbers for the ordinance because we're sending this to ordinance tonight. No problem.
No, it sounded good. Thank you, everyone, for your explanations.
No problem. Mr. Councilor Boystein, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Timniak. I think he can answer it. Chris, these are the same exact procedures we've been doing every year for the last, I don't know how many years when we replace school roofs, correct?
Yeah, yes. And when the council approved this or approved the motion to move forward on this project, this was vetted and Brian Schneider's ready to give it to the state and this is going to be approved. And that's how we came up with a 56% reimbursement by being in communication with the state. There's nothing unusual about this process whatsoever.
Thank you very much. That's what I thought.
Any other questions? Any other discussion? Any other councilors?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Bill O'Brien.
Mr. O'Brien, Councilor O'Brien.
Over the last almost 3 years, I know this will bring us to at least five that I know of that we've had done. Whitney and Johnson were done previously. Am I forgetting anybody?
Bunnell?
Bunnell, right? Bunnell. Of course, Stratford High is going to get done the old section. Okay, so we're going to be in great shape within a couple of years and make up for a lot of stuff that wasn't done in previous years.
We got some good roofs in Stratford, Mr. O'Brien.
Yeah.
That's a good takeaway here. Any other discussion before I call for a vote? All right, we're gonna call this one for a vote for 6.1.1. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda is 6.1.2.
Mr. Chairman, this is Laura Dancho, and I motion to approve item 6.1.2, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of $6,900,000 of bonds of the town for the roof replacements at the Worcester Middle School, Chapel, and Second Hill Lane. And that it be resolved that the first meeting of the above entitled ordinance Be and is hereby dispensed with, as copies thereof have been previously furnished to the members of the town council, and that the same be adopted as a first reading and referred to the ordinance committee for a public hearing.
Thank you, Councilor Dancho. Councilwoman Dancho. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second, Dave Harden.
Councilor Harden, thank you, sir. Any discussion on this? As it's a follow-up with the previous motion?
I think it's clear.
Any discussion? All right. Hearing none, we'll call this one for a vote as well. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 9-0. Thank you all. Last item on the agenda for this evening is item 7.1.1, Water and Harbor Fund Commission.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Perillo, Councilor Perillo, go ahead, sir.
I'd like to resolve by having Anthony Swanson from Selby's Pond Road go from an alternate to a full member expiring May 2025.
Motion by Councilor Perillo. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second, Bill O'Brien.
Seconded by Mr. O'Brien. And I just, under discussion, I just would like to say, Mr. Swanson, I know him, he's a great guy. He's someone who's served on that committee for the last few years. He's a worker. And I applaud anybody who's a worker on any committee or commission in the town. So I would like to thank him for his service, as everybody else who serves in this town. Any other discussion on this item? Okay. Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Any opposed? Hearing no opposed, motion passes 9-0.
Motion to adjourn.
I heard Mr. Poisson first. Do I have a second?
Second, Bill
Second,
O'Brien.
Dave Harden.
I got Mr. O'Brien on the second. All those in favor?
Hold on one second.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Everyone have a great evening.
Have a good night. Thank
Good
you.
night.
You all have a great week.